So in today's video, I'm going to try and recover from the mistakes I made in the last one, which was this was a complete fail, and in the fact that I think I over torqued it, and I probably shouldn't have done that. I could have gotten decent readings without torquing it, to the full specs. So today, my goal with this is to just get a consistent reading on all four cylinders. So I don't need it to be super accurate. So with that said, I'm just gonna torque it to 7 foot-pounds. That way the plate doesn't get distorted like it did in the last video. And I just have even pressure down on there so I can get a reading with the feeler gauge, and that way I can figure out my compression ratio. And my ultimate goal is just to have even compression on all four cylinders, so to achieve just a smooth running, as balanced as possible engine without spending a lot of money and getting it balanced and sending it to a dynometer or whatever. So this is my, I guess you'd call it a budget way of trying to achieve the best motor I can get out of this without spending a ton of money. So right now I'm just gonna torque these down to about 7 and get a reading with the feeler gauge. And then after that, I'll number this cylinder. This happens to be number 1. So I'll number the cylinder, and I already weighed all the pistons. The pistons all weigh exactly the same, which is great. So I didn't have to mess with those at all. And I'll clock all the rings, and I'll set this aside, and then I'll move on to the other 3 cylinders, and then number those, make sure, check for the deck height, and then what I'm gonna do is CC each individual piston to make sure that the compression ratios are all the same. I'm starting to repeat myself with this, but I think you get the point. So let's get this one torqued down and get a reading on this one, and then I'll do the other 3 without the camera involved. Do not trust these cheap torque wrenches at all. And I know I can't over torque this because it'll distort so easily. All right, 7 on all 4. It's probably it's risen up a bit, which probably isn't great, but again, this is just for the purpose of making sure that they're all 4 identical. That slid in there no problem. That was 23 and 24, so that's 47. Not sure this is not going close to anything there. It doesn't fit in there, or just fits in, and there's it's super loose. So I might not be doing this very well at all. So that doesn't fit. That up to 15 thousandths, 6 slivers. That's over. There's up to 21, 22, correct. Alright, close. So I can't be the only person that's tried this crazy way of doing this, but so I figured out that even 7 pounds was a little too much torque. It was distorting the plate just way too much. So I'm going to this is actually plan C on this, so I'm just gonna snug them up just so it's tight all the way around the cylinder. Doesn't have to be any specific torque pound. I mean, the one of the books I have talks about making your own, but they use PVC pipe to do this, and they just put a strap across. It doesn't say really to torque it to anything specific. So I'm assuming the PVC pipe, you know, wouldn't allow you to do that anyway. So there's even pressure. The reason I backed off on torquing it, it was like it was cupping in the center. So it was definite. I mean, even though I'm not going for super accuracy, you know, I don't want to be stacking 6 or 8 of these damn things to try and get a reading. So right now I'm at like 47, I believe. So it's 47. 51, right? 51's just barely sneaking under the edge. But I would say no. I mean, 47 seems to be where I'm at on this. It's the only one that fit without any persuasion. Oh shit, we at 47? Yeah, I can live with that. I mean, you know, why not? Should have stopped when I started. So what I'm gonna do is just make a mental note of where this is fitting, because I'm positive it's not even all the way around. See how it slides in easily there, but when I get to the edge, it's kind of snug. And that way, when I check the other 3, I'll know, you know, approximately how well. Like I'll go with 47 again, and then I'll notice where it's touching and rubbing. I'm pretty sure it's 47. Now if I put it to the edge of the cylinder, I mean, it's 47, 46, 47 is pretty good. Especially right there at the edge. I think we can call that at 47. So what it does is it slides in real easy in the middle, because this whole thing is being cupped, because, you know, this certainly not the best thing to use if you want any kind of accuracy, but you know, I'm just going for trying to get them all 4 the same. That's my main concern. And so it slides in easily there, gets stuck towards the edge. It doesn't go in at all at the edge. If I can sneak it in there. and it goes in just up to that much, you know, like quarter of the corner of the blades. Just for shits and grins, let's try 46 at the edge. Even 46 doesn't want to go in there very far. Well, let's try 44. Or 45 actually. So there's, these things are a little bit rustier. It's 21 and 24 is 45. Seems right there, right on the money as far as fitting up by the edge of the cylinder. So if I was a betting man, I'd say, you know, although I'm only able to measure it in one area, you should, you know, measure all the way around, or at least in a couple different spots. There's no way I'm getting any kind of an accurate reading in the center. The only place it's gonna be any kind of accuracy at all is gonna be near the edge, where it's touching the edge of the cylinder. It's the only place. So, I mean, if I was a betting man, I would say my deck height is at 45 thousandths. So that's what I'm going to use to do my calculations, at least for this cylinder. So I'll write on here what measurement I got, and then I'll do the other three, and then I already got the cc's for the heads, so I'll number I'll number the heads in the same position as the cylinder. And then I'm gonna compare the CC from the head. I'm gonna do the math to find out the compression ratio for each one. And I might, depending on how close they are, I'm hoping to get them within a half CC, and then, you know, just live with that. But depending on how far they're off, I might do a little bit of porting on the head. You know, I know that's probably not the best practice, but you know, I'm here trying to learn, and at the same time, you know, I still want the engine to be good. You know, I'm throwing a lot of money at this, and I don't want to destroy it, but you know, I'm pretty sure I can get this pretty well done. I'm getting ready to check the ring gap on the oil rings. I already did the upper and lowers. There's a math equation, and I can't remember it right now. I think it's like the bore size. It has something to do with the bore size. And you multiply that by 0.045. I can't remember the exact equation. There are videos out there on it. But that pretty much came up with the same specs that are in this Chilton, the tune-up guide, or the repair manual. Anyhow, so that was like with the math I figured out, it came out to about 15 thousandths. And right here it says between 12 and 18. For 1970 to 1980, and then the 71 to 81 is 14 to 21. So I'm right at 15, which is within specs on even both of these numbers. I'm not exactly sure the year of my block, but that, you know, that's neither here nor there. I mean, I got new cylinders and new cylinders and new pistons, so you know, but I'm still going by what this book is telling me, because the pistons themselves didn't come with any literature on ring gaps. So anyhow, so I'm at 15 thousandths, and then I right now I'm getting ready to do the oil control rings, and between here it says between 10 and 16. So so let me check those right now. I already did these two. They're right at 15. So let's pull these ones off and check these. I'm gonna do them one at a time so I don't mess them up as far as their location. Yeah, if I can get my fingers in there, pull them off. That's nice. Nice. So that goes that way. So nice to get right in the same position as it doesn't hold off there. And leave this piston with the oil ring still on it. And I'll get it down pretty much even all the way across. Take the feeler gauge and that looks spot on by eye. Let's just throw a gauge at it. There's 17. Let's start with 17. And doesn't want to go. Let's go with 16. It's so 17 didn't want to go, or 17 didn't want to go, and 16 does. These guys are hard to keep even because they're so thin. So 16 is even a little bit tight now that I've evened the ends up. So I bet they're right at 15, which is perfect. And then I don't have to mess with them anymore. So yeah, that's snuck in there. 16 was tight, 17 was tight, and then the 15 slid in there real well. So I'm gonna pull that off in the same position I put it in there. Actually, I flipped it over. So let's get this guy out of here. Actually, I'm gonna just take the lower ring off at this point. Oh, it's not there. All right, let's get this out of here first. Yeah, and the main key to this is don't bend or distort anything. I mean, I've never seen anybody in any of the videos I saw check the gap on this. So let's just do it for so, and that's probably why, because it's impossible. No, not impossible. It does fit. And there is no gap here, so from what I understand, there's no gap. These should be touching when they're in there. So let's test the bottom. You can see I wrote 47 on there and a number 1. That's because this weighed 47 grams. And this is going to be my number 1 cylinder. I just don't want to bend these damn things trying to get them off there. Alright, let's push this one in there nice and even. Let's see what we got on here. So 15 does not want to go for this one, so Let's see how low it does go. If it stays, I'm gonna just jump right to 10 because that's the lowest that it can be as far as being within tolerance. 10 fits right in there, so I'm good with that. Not even curious as to what it is. I know 10 is in there, and it's kind of sloppy, so it's at least 10, maybe even 11. So with that said, I'm gonna install the rings back on the piston, get it all cleaned up, clock the rings, put it back in the cylinder, and then set this on the side and keep it clean as I test. I'm gonna do this to each individual cylinder as I go around the motor. My next one is number 2, and then I'll do 3 and 4, have them all ready for installation, and then I'll come back and show you how I get these on the motor, on the block with the heads. Just want to point out before I put these rings on, so it appears that the oil rings have no specific location. This wiggly ring, which actually holds the oil, the ends just have to be touching on that, and I'm clocking these as I set them aside. So this is going to be. So this is going to face the rear of the engine, or the front actually. That's where the arrow is pointing towards the flywheel. And so I'm clocking these. I got the gap on this bottom ring just past the piston pin on this side, and then the top oil ring, the flat one, I'm gonna do on the opposite side. And then here's what I really wanted to point out. So these, the 2 upper rings, the compression rings, are labeled top 1 and top 2. And they have a bevel, and on these ones, this bevel, the top one points up, so that's top 1, and the bevel is on facing me, up, facing you. And on the bottom one, it's labeled top 2, and the bevel is facing down. And so I'm gonna clock these. So actually, so this is top 2, so it goes on it's the second ring up. And I'm gonna slip this in its home around the piston. I'm gonna clock this one just off. So this is the top of the piston when it's in the motor. This is the direction of the flywheel. So this one I'm gonna put at like 9 o'clock, I guess. And then I'll slip this one on with the bevel facing up. It's labeled top 1. And I'll put this one at like 2 or 3 o'clock. And the main point of all this is that they don't line up in the motor, especially at the first startup. So everything's gapped. Everything's on there. It's clocked. I'm gonna hose this whole thing down with some parts cleaner, slip it into the cylinder after I oil the inside of this a couple squirts, and then I'm gonna bag it up, set it aside, and then it'll be ready to be installed. So here's what I got after all that deck height figuring out with this regretful tool that I made, this is what I've come up with. So I got 57 cc's and 56.6 on this head, and I've got them marked 3 and 4 for a reason. So here's my block. Here's number 3. Here's number 4. That's gonna be the head for that side. And this is what I come up with on the deck height. So I've got these staged over here, and I wrote down the numbers on the lid just to keep track. So number 4 was at 44 thousandths, and this was at 43. So 3 was the lower of these two. These two, 1 and 2, were exactly the same. You know, as far as that, my special deck tool was telling me. You know, I think I got it pretty ballparkish though. So 43 and 44. So if you'll see, 43 is number 3. And if I put this head on there with that one over number 3, it's 57, which is the higher of the two. So that should split the difference on that one. And then this one being at 44 thousandths, you know, that's only, you know, 4/10 of a cc off. So that'll bring those pretty damn close. And these happen to come out within 2/10 of a cc of each other. And the other side is at 45 thousandths on both deck heights. So with that said, I hit what I wanted to hit. I'm within a half of cc as far as compression ratio. So there you go. I spent a couple hours with this damn tool and checking all the deck heights. But I didn't just do that. I was at the same time I was cleaning and staging the pistons and getting them ready. I checked all the ring gaps and clocked all the rings, and I got the pistons staged up inside the cylinders, and I got one of the circlips in facing in the right direction so I can just slide them down on there, slip the pin through, and you know, at this point it should go, you know, pretty quickly. So that's where I'm at on that. So I will I'll set this up in the tripod and start putting some parts on here. Well, one thing, I'm gonna put the oil cooler on first, just to save me the hassle of trying to reach those nuts with the cylinders in place. And I still want to. I'm gonna clean some of this oil off. It's been sitting so long that oil's starting to run out. The assembly lube is starting to run out. I hope that doesn't cause a problem. I'll probably try to drop some down in there as I'm putting it together. But I do want to clean some of this off on the outside because I plan on painting this black when I get the cylinders and the heads on. So I'm going to set this up in the tripod, and then we'll get some cylinders on here and see how that goes.